Lover, reputation. Hey, I'm Serenity and this is my channel, and we're joined by Ginger and Nova, and today I have a fun little DIY for you that I've been working on no joke since like May. It took a really long time to source patches, and even then still I'm not done. And now that I'm 4 sweaters in to what we're going to be doing today, I think I need to make the other 6 albums, which will probably take me to like the end of the year. But if I do, let me know if you want a video on that. So today I'm going to be teaching you how to make the Taylor Swift albums era sweatshirts. I have 4 here. I'm going to teach you how to custom dye them, if that's what you choose, because out of the 4, I dyed 3 of them custom. And then how to apply the patches, where to get them, everything you need to know about everything. I wanted to do this, actually I only wanted to do this over Speak Now, but then I got a little carried away. So now we are this deeply in. So let's get into it. For supplies, you're going to need crew neck sweatshirts, the grit dye color of your choice, dish soap, and then salt to go along with that. Optional is spray bottles. I'll explain that later. And then for the patches, E6000 glue, the letter patches in your choice, and then sewing pins. To prep these sweatshirts I'm going to dye, I'm going to be boiling really 2 big pots of water to a boiling point, as hot as I can get this water, because this is how our dye is going to adhere. So while that's boiling, I am going to prep my sweatshirt by wetting it and wringing it out. It needs to be damped, and of course we're starting with a white sweatshirt, so we have a blank canvas to dye it whatever color. So pouring those 2 big buckets of water into an even bigger bucket that can withstand heat. Doing this in my kitchen, you should not do this in your kitchen. You'll see I later went on site. So once that's in there, I'm going to add a cup of salt because I'm dyeing cotton, and then some dish soap, mixing that around till bubbles form, and then I'm gonna add my dye. It is just powder purple dye that I got. I'm gonna mix this all around until I like the color. Once that's to my liking, I'm putting my wet sweatshirt in there and mixing around for 10 minutes, pulling up once in a while to check the color. Once I'm satisfied, I'm going to rinse out the dye as best as I can until the water runs clear. This is an important step. You're getting out the extra dye here. After that's done, I'm gonna throw the sweatshirt into the washer with just an old towel, no detergent, and wash it on a cycle and dry it the same way. The towel is to absorb any extra dye we missed. The sweatshirt is in the washer and dryer. I'm repeating the same steps as earlier, but just for a different color. And now outside. Now this time I used liquid dye, and it was not the color advertised, so that was really disappointing, but I followed the same steps as earlier, including damping the sweatshirt and then putting the dye in, mixing it constantly for 10 minutes. A little note here, do not throw the leftover dye water onto the concrete, it will stain. While that sweatshirt is going through the washing and drying process with another towel, let's move on to the last one, the lover one. This is really hard. So I boiled the water and then added the salt and soap right into the pot, and I'm pouring some into spray bottles along with about half of the dye and shaking that up. I'm doing this with pink, yellow, and blue because I had this idea that I could kind of spray the sweatshirt, get that like watercolor effect. I wasn't sure if it was going to work, but if it didn't, I was just going to keep washing the sweatshirt and then just re-dye it pink altogether. I cut up some plastic trash bags to lay my damp sweatshirt on. That way I could do this in the dining room table and no dye would get anywhere, and I had a controlled work area. And then I'm spraying each color one at a time. Started with yellow, then pink, and then blue, and I started to get my colors mixed up. I was getting green and purple, and the bottles definitely burned my hand, but it's all worth it. So I completed the front, and I probably should have gone more dark on the colors because it did wash out pretty well, but it worked overall. I flipped it to the back once I was ready, and I'm really trying to soak the dye as best as I can to saturate the fabric with the dye, because unlike the previous 2 sweatshirts where the sweatshirt is just floating in the color for about 10 minutes to absorb, literally that's not what's happening with this one. At this point I'm literally just kind of like tie-dyeing this using Rit dye instead. So once I was satisfied with how it looked, I decided to add even more dye, and I'm rinsing it out section by section. I'm being very deliberate to not mix the sections. I started hanging my sweatshirt up on a hanger and hanging it on like the window so I didn't mix the sections. Rinsing it took honestly about 20 minutes, but once the water was clear, I really liked how it looked. I then followed the same washing and drying process as earlier with a new towel again, and then it was time to start on our patches. So my patches are from Hobby Lobby and they're $2 each, and they look like Stoney Clover Lane dupes. Highly recommend them. So I just bought every single type that I needed to spell out whatever album I was writing, and with Lover they actually have something that says love. so I just grabbed an R to complete the album name. So once I was ready, I laid out my clean sweatshirts with the patches. I pulled them out of their packaging and then lint rolled each sweatshirt to make sure there was nothing between it, laid it out how I wanted it. I used a ruler to measure, make sure everything was straight and even, and then I used those sewing pins to put each letter in place while I glued the other ones, as you can see here. And I'm gonna use E6000. You're gonna want to get every little inch of that damn patch full of glue, but just a thin layer because it will spread. Luckily it dries clear, so if any seeps out you won't see it, but I'm literally spacing it between, using my ruler, making sure everything is even, and getting every single inch of that little patch with glue on it. This is the key to make sure they don't fall off or you don't have a loose edge. It's pretty time consuming, but it works really well. Patches were made to be ironed on using heat, but let me be the first one to tell you that does not work. Save your time. Glue works better. I tried that before, okay? Now for Reputation, the Rep sweatshirt, I'm lint rolling again, especially black, and I'm using the big letters that you could find at Hobby Lobby. These are just about 30 cents more, and I'm just spelling Rep because Reputation is too damn long to put on a sweatshirt, and I'm dyslexic, okay? I said what I said. This also reminds me of the tour outfit that she wore during the Rep tour, and I'm just gluing it the same way, lining up with my ruler, pin them down, being very liberal with the glue on each patch. You can see it's a lot bigger in my hand compared to the last one. This sweatshirt is from Target. It's from their like loungewear section. Obviously it was easy to find a black sweatshirt compared to the other 3 colors that I dyed myself. So just following the same process, a lot of glue. I'm pushing down. I'm putting firm pressure on each patch. I also had these thunderbolts that I thought would be cute. I didn't end up using them though. I thought just Rep looked too good. For the Speak Now sweatshirt, since it is 2 words, I decided to do 2 rows of words instead of just straight across. I also got them in purple for Speak and then white for Now. I probably should have done it all one color, but I really liked how it turned out. I didn't expect my dye job color of the sweatshirt to match the purple patches perfectly, but that was a happy accident that it did. Again, being very liberal with the glue here, I only put Speak on first. That way I can get the spacing right here, and then I added Now because I only had 1 ruler and I didn't want that much of a gap between the 2 words. Once I was done with that, I added Now, obviously, and I left only about like a 1/4 inch of space between. It was really hard to figure out the spacing I wanted here between the top words and the second word. Again, very liberal with the glue and the pins holding in place. I started actually with the O, so I had it centered with the E in Speak, and then I added the N and W for Now. I pressed firmly on all the letters one more time once I was done to make sure they all adhered nice. For Evermore, I did not have all the letters, as you can see. It actually was really funny. I went to 3 Hobby Lobbies and I could not find the letters. So we're missing an R and an E, but it was too good. Evermore is a really long word, so I decided to do 4 letters on top, 4 letters on bottom. It just felt like a good idea spacing wise. So again, I did what I did with Speak Now. I started with Ever on top, the first 4 letters, spaced those out, and then I did more, or more like MO, but I'm lining them up exactly under the first 4 letters because obviously it's an 8-letter word. Being very liberal with the glue again, pinning down, using my ruler, and adding firm pressure. Once they were all done, I set all 4 sweatshirts aside to dry overnight for at least 12 hours until the glue was completely dry. And here's what they look like to finish. Lover. What did you think? Are you going to be making these yourself? I definitely do think now that I need to make the other 6 albums. Yeah, I do. And if I do, I probably will make a part 2 to this video just because the custom dye process is really hard on these. But this definitely was my uniform for when Speak Now came out. The only tip I will have that I didn't mention, because we used colored dye, I would recommend just washing them inside out by themselves with a towel just until that towel comes out clear, like nothing everything transfers. And just so none of your other clothes, your regular clothes, don't get dyed. I don't know how much dye got out of it. I don't know. The patches should stay adhered, but that way if something happens, it's just one item, two items in the wash, a towel and your sweatshirt that fall apart. I have washed things with E6000 before, so I don't see why it would fall apart. I'm sure you can actually order the letters on Amazon, but what if you only get one of two, and literally Evermore has 3 freaking E's and 2 R's, and if you only get one, and then there's no album with a Z in it. Alright, the doggo picture of the day is this picture of Nova being cute. I don't know what picture it is. I have like 50,000 of Nova. Love you, mean it, kisses, don't doing stupid, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
I know you told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt